Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It was 7:45 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday. The kitchen smelled like toast and burnt coffee. Michelle stood by the counter in a robe, holding her mug with both hands like it was something holy. We'd been married 10 years, long enough to stop celebrating small things, but not long enough to forget why we started. Lately, though, she'd been distant, working late, scrolling through her phone at dinner, laughing at messages that weren't mine. I'd learned not to ask questions that already had answers. She took a sip of coffee, exhaled, and said it like she'd practiced in front of a mirror. "Derek, I'm carrying Andrew's baby. As a surrogate." For a second, I thought she was joking. "Andrew?" I repeated. "Your ex?" She smiled faintly. "Yes. He and his wife can't have children. I'm helping them. It's something good, something meaningful." The way she said helping sounded like a sermon. She waited for applause. I set my cup down. "You really think that's simple, don't you?" She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I leaned back in my chair. "It means," I said slowly, "if you're carrying your ex's baby, then perfect. He can pay the alimony too." Her smile faltered. She frowned, defensive. "This isn't about money, Derek. It's about doing the right thing." "Then you'll have no problem if he's legally responsible for it," I said. She crossed her arms. "You're making it sound dirty. It's science. It's compassion." "Sure," I said, "and you just happen to be the chosen one." She rolled her eyes, grabbed her bag, and muttered, "I knew you wouldn't understand," before walking out the door. When the door closed, I sat there for a while, listening to the quiet. Then I opened my laptop and sent an email to my lawyer, Aisha Patel. "Need a clause drafted today. All parental and financial responsibility for any child carried by Michelle Nolan to be assigned to the biological father. Immediate filing." Aisha replied 2 minutes later. "Understood. I'll have it ready by noon." I leaned back in my chair. My hands didn't shake. My voice hadn't risen. No fight, no shouting, no tears, just clarity. Michelle thought she'd just made a moral announcement. She didn't realize she'd just written the first line of our divorce papers. By Friday, Michelle had turned her announcement into a performance. She posted a photo of her belly slightly turned toward the light. The caption read, "Giving life is the greatest form of love." Hundreds of likes appeared within hours. Friends called her inspiring. Andrew's name popped up in the likes. At dinner that night, she was glowing. "People are being so supportive," she said, scrolling through her comments. "Andrew and Clara said they're thankful I'm doing this." "Right," I said. "Everyone's thrilled." She didn't hear the edge in my tone. "You should be proud of me, Derek. Not everyone can do something this selfless." I gave a small smile. "Just make sure it's legal." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "Surrogacy. There's paperwork, background checks, and contracts. You've done all that?" She waved it off. "It's private. The clinic handles everything." The next morning, while she was out, I called the clinic listed on her appointment card. "Hi," I said. "I'm calling about my wife, Michelle Nolan." She mentioned an appointment. The receptionist sounded distracted. "Yes, she came in with her partner." Everything looked fine. "My wife's partner?" I repeated. "Yes, that's what's listed on her file. Is there a problem?" "No," I said. "No problem." I hung up and stared at the phone. There it was. Confirmation, neat and undeniable. That night, Michelle came home humming. "The clinic says everything's perfect," she said, pulling her hair into a bun. "With Andrew?" I asked. She froze for a second, then forced a laugh. "Don't start with that again." I smiled faintly. "Wouldn't dream of it." She went upstairs, still muttering. I stayed at the table, where she forgot her phone. That's when it buzzed. One new message. The screen lit up with a text from Andrew. "Can't stop thinking about earlier. You still smell the same." I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. She came back down a few minutes later, noticed me still at the table. "You're quiet," she said. "Just thinking," I replied. She smiled weakly. "Don't overthink it, Derek." I nodded, eyes on the phone. "I won't." She took her phone and went upstairs again. I finally exhaled. There it was, the truth I didn't have to ask for. She thought this was the start of something beautiful. I knew it was the beginning of an ending. The following Monday, I met with Aisha in her office. She was calm and efficient, The kind of person who could turn chaos into order with a few strokes of a pen. She'll need to sign this herself, Aisha said, sliding the draft across her desk. Once she does, everything transfers to the biological father. No loopholes. Good, I said. Make it simple. She doesn't read the fine print anyway. Aisha gave me a measured look. You're not angry. No, I said. Anger makes noise. I'm just setting things straight. That evening, I found Michelle in the living room, her laptop open. Hey, I said, laying a few papers beside her. Household updates. Aisha said both of us need to sign. Insurance, liability stuff. Boring, I know. She didn't even pause. You're handling paperwork again? You're such a lifesaver, Derek. Someone has to keep things clean, I said. She laughed lightly and signed where I pointed. Her attention stayed on the glowing screen in front of her. Done, she said, pushing the papers back without a glance. Perfect, I said, tucking them into a folder. The next morning I scanned the documents and sent them to Aisha with one line. Filed. Proceed with notice to the biological father. By late afternoon, an email popped up from a name I hadn't expected, Clara Lewis. Mr. Nolan, it read, I don't know what Michelle told you, but Andrew and I never agreed to any surrogacy. Can we talk? I replied with a single line and an attachment. You might want to read what she just signed. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. He told me everything, Clara wrote. You should know I'm leaving him. It started with a knock at noon. A courier stood at the door, holding a brown envelope. Delivery for Mrs. Nolan, he said. Michelle signed without thinking. She smiled politely until she saw the return address in the corner. Patel and Associates. My lawyer. Her smile vanished. Derek, what is this? Probably something from Aisha. Routine follow-up. She tore it open. Her eyes scanned the first page, then widened. This says all parental and financial responsibility for the pregnancy is transferred to Andrew Lewis. Filed and notarized. Correct, I said. She looked up, horrified. You can't just do this. I didn't just do it, I said evenly. I made it legal. Her breathing quickened. You're punishing me. No, Michelle. You wanted to help your ex. She dropped the papers on the table. You're unbelievable. Maybe, I said, but I'm also free. Her eyes widened. You can't just do that. I'm helping them. You're helping him, I said. There's a difference. You're twisting this into something ugly. No, I said calmly. You already did that. I just wrote it down. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Andrew. She froze, then answered quietly, Hey. I heard his voice through the phone, panicked and loud. Michelle, what did you sign? Clara's threatening to file for separation. Andrew, calm down, she started, but he cut her off. This is a disaster. Clara's furious. She didn't even know you were still in contact with me. She hung up, shaking. You've ruined everything, she whispered. I poured myself a glass of water. No, I just made it official. She didn't reply and went to the bedroom. When Michelle came downstairs later, her eyes were red and swollen. I was at the table, reading Clara's email. She stood there, arms crossed. You're just sitting there like nothing happened. I looked up. Something did happen. You just thought you'd be the only one writing the story. Her jaw tightened. You think you can fix everything with signatures and legal tricks? I set the phone down. I'm not fixing it, Michelle. I'm documenting it. She shook her head, voice breaking. You've turned this into a transaction. No, I said quietly. You did that the second you offered your body to your ex and called it compassion. Her breath caught. You're cruel. I'm calm, I said. There's a difference. For a moment, she just stood there, trembling, like she wanted to scream but couldn't find the words. Then she grabbed her bag and walked out. I didn't stop her. I didn't call. For the first time in months, the silence actually sounded honest. 3 days later, her best friend, Eva Martinez, showed up at the door. She looked tired. She's staying with me, Eva said, brushing past me. She's not eating, not sleeping. What did you do, Derek? I made sure I'm not paying child support for another man's baby, I said. Eva glared. You're heartless. Maybe, I said, but not blind. She sighed, sitting down at the counter. You don't understand. She really thought she was helping him. Andrew leaned on her a lot. He said Clara was depressed after a miscarriage. Michelle wanted to be the one who fixed everything. I raised an eyebrow. By sleeping with him? Eva flinched. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. She said it was emotional, not... I stopped her there. You don't need to protect her. I already know. Eva looked down. She's ruined, Derek. Even Clara posted something online about betrayal and lies. Everyone knows. Then maybe she'll finally stop pretending she's a saint, I said quietly. That evening, Michelle returned. Her makeup was gone, her clothes wrinkled, her voice small. She stood in the doorway like a stranger. Can we talk? She asked. I nodded once. She sat across from me, hands trembling. I made mistakes, she said. I just wanted to help him. No, you wanted to feel important again, I said. Her eyes filled. You make it sound selfish. It was, I said. You didn't do it for them. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Derek, please. Don't end us like this. I stood slowly. It ended the moment you lied. I just waited for the paperwork to catch up. She broke then, sobbing into her hands, her voice cracking. I didn't move to comfort her. For once, the silence between us told the truth. The court date arrived a few months later. I sat beside Aisha at the front, watching Michelle a few rows ahead. She looked thinner, quieter, her once perfect posture gone. When the judge entered, everyone stood. Michelle's lawyer went first. Your Honor, he said, my client was under emotional stress and signed documents she didn't understand. She was manipulated by her husband, who used her confusion to free himself from financial obligations. The judge looked over his glasses at me. Mr. Nolan, your response? I stood. Michelle wasn't confused, I said evenly. She was confident. She told everyone she was carrying her ex-boyfriend's baby out of compassion. She posted about it online. She bragged about it. And when asked to sign something official, she did, without hesitation. Michelle's lawyer objected. That document was misleading. It was clear, I said. She wanted to play the hero. I simply made sure her ex got the role of financial provider. The judge turned to Michelle. Mrs. Nolan, did you sign these papers voluntarily? Michelle's voice cracked. Yes, but... Then they're valid, he said. Petition denied. The gavel struck. Final. Michelle's lawyer leaned in, whispering something, but she didn't move. Her eyes stayed on the table, wide and lost. Outside, she followed me into the parking lot. You destroyed me, she said, voice shaking. No, I said. You did that when you brought another man into our marriage. I just handed him the bill. Her lip trembled. You could have forgiven me. I did, I said. I just didn't forget. She took a step closer, desperate. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, unlocking my car. But at least I'll sleep. She watched me drive off. I didn't look back. That night, I placed the stamped divorce decree on my desk. The house was silent, not empty, not lonely, just still. For the first time in years, the quiet didn't hurt. Life slowed down after the divorce. No lawyers, no phone calls, no staged smiles. Just calm days that started with black coffee and ended in silence. Michelle moved into a small apartment on the east side. I didn't ask where, but word got around. Eva stopped by once, saying she was checking in. I could tell she wanted to talk about Michelle. She's not doing well, Eva said quietly. She'll manage, I said. Eva hesitated, then added, the pregnancy didn't last. Stress, maybe. I didn't react. I'm sorry to hear that, I said evenly. She keeps saying it was supposed to mean something, Eva went on. I nodded. Maybe it did mean something, I said. Just not what she expected. Eva looked at me, waiting for anger that never came. You don't even sound surprised. I'm not, I said. She sighed. She's alone now, Derek. She needs help. She had help, I said softly. She just mistook it for forgiveness. Eva frowned. You sound proud. Not proud, I said. Just finished. A few weeks later, I saw Michelle at a grocery store. She was standing by the self-checkout with a few small items. Our eyes met. She froze, then tried to smile. Hi, Derek, she said softly. Hi. How are you? Good, I said. You? She looked down. Getting by. There was a moment when I almost said something kind, but then I remembered how she used to say private when she meant secret. I hope you do better this time, I said simply. She nodded, eyes wet. You always say things that sound final. That's because they are, I said. I paid for my groceries and left without looking back. For the first time in a long while, I felt completely alone and perfectly fine with it. That night, I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee. My phone buzzed. A message from Michelle. Thank you for not humiliating me today. I didn't reply. I just turned off the phone. Peace, I realized, doesn't roar. It whispers, especially after the noise is gone. She had her silence now, and so did I. Thank you for watching.